Patriot Podcast, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location in the heart of the newest battleground state of Colorado. We are proud to welcome our many new subscribers to the channel and announce Colorado as the newly opened front in this battle for the soul of our great nation. My name is Nicholas Raza, and without further ado, I present to you all our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez Rey. Give it up for the Hispanic Patriots.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to another edition of the Hispanic Patriot Podcast. We have some interesting and very poignant topics tonight, and we'll start with the Tina Peters trial here in Colorado. Those of you listening in Colorado know Tina was the former Mesa County court clerk and recorder on the Western Slope in Grand Junction, Colorado. Tina was involved in trying to shed light on election fraud occurring during the 2020 election. Mesa County used Dominion voting machines, as most of Colorado's counties still do. Tina is considered a patriot by many conservatives who were concerned with election security and integrity. Tina Peters was convicted Monday on numerous counts related to a breakdown of her county's election computer system in 2020. She was convicted of 3 counts of attempting to influence a public servant, 1 count of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, first-degree official misconduct, violation of duty, and failing to comply with the Secretary of State, the inimitable Jenna Griswold. The jury in the kangaroo court found Peters not guilty of charges of conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, and identity theft. So those were the 3 charges that she was found not guilty of. Her defense, the little of which the biased, borderline corrupt judge would allow in the trial, was primarily upon the fact that the county clerk had not committed a crime, but rather her intent was to preserve election records which were about to be destroyed unlawfully by the ultra-partisan and corrupt Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold. Tina's attorney explained that had she not done what she did, nobody would have known what happened. So Tina is a patriot. Thanks to a Manhattan-style kangaroo court in Mesa County, a Gold Star mother is now facing prison time for trying to prevent the Secretary of State from destroying election records which are supposed to be maintained by law for 24 months beyond an election. Folks, we're living in some bizarre times. Sometimes I think I'm in a movie about totalitarianism and fascism. And if the current trend in our legal system is not soon reversed, we won't have a legal system to speak of. So that's my brief commentary. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Well, my first thought of this, honestly, coming from Chicago, where we have so much voter fraud, it's ridiculous that it. Here's the biggest thing about this problem. It is barely illegal to commit voter fraud in this country. It is barely illegal to do so. But it is very illegal in this country to discover voter fraud. The methods that you have to go through to understand and prove voter fraud, this is the kind of trap that can be sent for law-abiding patriots, for otherwise law-abiding patriots, who, again, the purpose of the justice system should look at this and say, okay, even if you did something that we could throw the book at you for, you did so uncovering something horrifically illegal that we should pay much more attention to than whatever the heck you did. And that's what they should have looked at Tina and did. I mean, this was her job as clerk and recorder, and many other clerk and recorders, don't do their jobs at all, versus somebody who knew something was wrong and said something. That's what we were taught as kids. If you see something, say something. Well, she got punished in a Soviet style for saying something after she saw something.
Well,
That's
it
the
was
problem.
a retaliatory strike from Jenna Griswold and the
And we know
left
how
wing
she is.
the left wing cabal that basically runs this state right now, unfortunately. And so it had nothing to do with her actions.
Right.
It had everything to do with her being a whistleblower, in effect.
Yeah.
And I always thought, and I've always been told that whistleblowers are supposed to be protected,
They are.
unless, of course, you're a conservative whistleblower and you're exposing corruption from the left.
Oh
Then,
yeah.
then you're a prime target for these leftists that will stop at nothing to protect their nefarious ways.
But if you're a leftist whistleblower, then they won't even let Republicans say your name because you're
Exactly.
so protected. We all remember that the man whose name we couldn't say because he was a whistleblower against Trump.
Yep.
Now our whistleblowers get thrown in jail. How is that a level playing field? They're already
Well,
trying to rig this election before the ballot boxes are even out.
it's not. But what's even worse about this whole thing is there are so-called conservatives on our side of the fence that have basically attacked her too, and some of these so-called journalists that have appointed themselves judge, jury, and executioner way before they way before there was even any charges or trial dates, etc. And unfortunately, we know a couple of them. One of them was a guest on our show a while back, and he has become a crusader against Tina. And I've called him out on it, and I've told him that he's way off base, but he's not listening. I think he's been bought now by the Gazette, which is owned by Anschutz. So I'm guessing he's getting paid to uh, to promote a certain narrative.
Well, and
And
let's be honest, even if he isn't getting paid, we know a lot of people on our side are basically scared. They side with the mainstream media against it because they did. We saw this during the Trump trial, and we saw this especially during the January 6th trials. How many people on our side said, well, they really did deserve it, and they didn't. They looked at the legalism, and they didn't look past what the Democrats were doing in order to actually defend us, defend the people who are patriots.
yep,
So it's very unfortunate whether money's involved or not. The soul has to be there. Character has to be there. And if it's not, that's when you abandon your friends.
yep. Well, the other thing that I heard, and I didn't get the full story, but apparently one of the jurors had something that he had to go at, he or she, I don't know if it's a he or she, uh, they had to go attend something. And so he didn't want to be dragging out the deliberations because he had a deadline to meet. So somehow, allegedly, he convinced the rest of them to just issue a verdict and not really deliberate a whole lot, because I think they only
Wow.
deliberated like 3 hours or so, which for a case like this is very short.
So they
But
12 Angry Men did,
yeah,
basically. That's really, if anyone knows that movie 12 Angry Men, go look it up. That's exactly what goes on in a lot of
I
places. People
love
just
that
don't want to be
movie. Yeah,
bothered.
that movie is a great, along with To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, but
Those
and
were
that's the character they want to take out of our society is the guy who stands up and says, "I know this is wrong. I'm going to keep us all here." We didn't see that from Mike Pence. We didn't see that from the jurors in Tina Peters' trial. We didn't see that in the Trump trial. Courage is lacking in America. It's really sad.
well. I don't know what the. I haven't heard yet about appeals, possible appeals. I know that Tina has been uh, directed by the judge to report to the probation office by noon Tuesday. Uh, and I guess that's standard procedure. But
Yeah.
I am going to be. I'm upset now, but I think I'm going to be even more upset if they actually try to jail her.
Yeah.
Um, you know, let's see. I want to see how what the mindset is of this judge,
Yeah, how far will they go?
and if they're going to try to jail this Gold Star mother who lost her son in the war, and and try to ruin her life even more. You know, so it's going to be interesting to see. We're going to keep track of this, and we'll see. We're going to try to get Tina on to see if we can get her on the show. Um,
And her side of the story.
and her side of the story, of course. I don't know if the attorneys can comment based on appeal and stuff. But we'll see. I know one of the attorneys personally, so his name is John Case. So I will see if he's willing to come and discuss any kind of you know information. Um, and of course, we'll honor any confidentiality stuff. But I want to hear more about this. I want to also get Tina's perspective, um, and see what's going to come of this because to me this is a travesty of justice,
Been seeing a lot of those lately.
and I can't believe that there's people out there that really want to see her in jail. So, but unfortunately, they are.
It's very
So,
sad. And as I said before, the mainstream media would never call the Venezuelan protesters who are out there protesting because they know their election was frauded. You'll never see them be called insurrectionists. But for some reason, when Americans do it, when Americans know they feel cheated, we have to be labeled horrible things. But
yeah,
I don't think that's going to be for much longer. You can't keep poking the bear like that. Eventually, when that bear is on top, when Donald Trump's back on top, people won't be able to fight patriots as much anymore. Like he said, because like he says, what the government's after. Patriots are who the government wants to attack. Trump's just standing in the way.
yep. So, speaking of elections,
Oh no.
speaking of elections, we have a very important one coming up. We are exactly 83 days away from the most important election in our nation's history.
Absolutely.
Some voting begins in certain parts of the country in about 34 days. So now I know that you know, I know every election people say this is the most important election in our lifetime. But let me give you a couple of reasons why this one just might be. First, we had 2020, where arguably one could make a case for that election having had some, shall we say, anomalies unlike any we have ever seen before. I'm not here to relitigate that election or the results, but suffice to say, there were enough irregularities to taint the results for sure. And if you can't admit that, then you're on another planet, in my opinion. Second, we have now lived through almost 4 years of the most disastrous administration, or regime as I call it, in our nation's history, bar none. From day one, this regime has completely reversed all the progress that the Trump administration succeeded in implementing, not the least of which was the destruction of the energy industry in America. That alone led to a snowball effect on our economy, which has gotten progressively worse as time has gone by. And what is the regime doing? Well, we're living in runaway inflation, and this regime is asleep at the wheel, to put it mildly. And actually, literally, he is asleep at the wheel. We already
He
know
admitted
Joe.
it.
We already know Joe is in bed before dark, and his cackling hen VP can't stop laughing long enough to have a serious discussion about what is ailing us as a nation. So now, fast forward, she is the presumptive Democratic Party nominee, along with her China loving stolen valor VP running mate, Tim Walz. And of course, the left string media is running full bore interference for them by rewriting Kamala's record dating all the way back to her days as a San Francisco prosecutor and California attorney general. But fret not. We are here to keep the spotlight on what the people need to know about the most radical presidential ticket in U.S. history. It's not even close. Let's have a little fun and listen to a couple of Kamala sound bites, shall we? See
Sounds good to me.
what Kamala. Let me see
Kamala.
Kamala. Yeah, here's a couple of sound bites that we're going to listen to.
I was about to say, Hugo, do we have to listen to her? Do we have to listen to her? I mean, really.
This isn't her. Wait a minute. She hasn't.
Okay.
There's. Did you hear that? How many chances does a criminal get? She's as many chances as you need.
And however many people he damages in the meantime, I suppose.
Yep. Let's listen to soundbite number 2. This is Walz's low light reel on COVID response in 2020. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'm forgetting one part.
It's quite all right.
We have to share.
But not as how Kamala thinks about sharing.
Yes.
Wealth, married men, these kind of things she loves sharing. I'm sorry, I had to go there.
Okay. Let's listen now. See if we can get this.
You can let me know, Hugo, when you get that up, because I do want to say one thing about the Tim Walz Harris campaign that's been really just grinding me real bad, and that's the revival of middle school political tactics. Like
Hold on.
they go right ahead.
Are you not? Are you not hearing it?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's okay.
Well, we got a little technical difficulty here.
That's all right. For those watching, actually, we will be moving streaming platforms very, very soon, so we are a little bit in flux here. But so is the Kamala Harris Waltz campaign. And also, we definitely have, I would say, some better audio visual than the X interview with Elon Musk and Trump, which had amazing content, just absolutely worth listening to. I mean, this just goes to show good content's worth listening to no matter what problems you go through it, especially when you break the internet trying to bring it to the people. But Trump right now has an opponent who is reviving middle school tactics. He's literally just calling JD Vance and by extension all of us and all of you weirdos. They're just so weird. I mean, something a lot of older people might not know is that younger people really hate the term weird. Weird, nerd, geek, all these kind of things. When they're spoken ironically, they're absolutely fun. I'm a nerd. I love the title. But when other people call you it, that kind of bullying, we've kind of gotten over it as a generation. But not Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. They haven't gotten over it. The fact that they have basically revived a middle school slur as part of their main campaign situation, taglines, it's disgusting. And it's disgusting to youth voters.
All right,
Here we are.
let's see if we can roll now.
Yes, with the lady who called 18 to 24
I think it takes a lot of imagination and courage to move away from a system that punishes people and sets people up for failure to a system that is restorative, right? That is equitable, that is healing. How many chances do you get?
How many chances do you
My answer to that is as many chances as you need, which doesn't really please those law and order people. I think it takes.
Okay.
Oh, it takes every time. So again, the criminal can commit as many actions as they want, but not apparently if you're protesting a stolen election or uncovering proof of a stolen election. I guess you don't get any chance if that's the kind of crime that you commit in Kamala's world.
Yep. So that's what you were saying is now, uh, she's in favor. Well, we know she's in favor of the no cash bail.
Yeah.
She was part of the group that raised bail money for the rioters in Minneapolis.
Yep. No
And,
matter what they did.
And Walz, as governor, stood by and let Minneapolis burn. Didn't lift a finger to try to save this. And then his even nuttier wife, if you can imagine that, basically said that she opened the windows so she could smell
the burning tires.
The burning tires in the city, because to her that was the smell of freedom.
She's on safari. I mean, that's what it is. She's honestly a very privileged person who was basically observing the urban problems. I mean, Tim Walz and his wife are honestly really, really bourgeois. They're not really progressive at all, but they act like it. It's a sense of guilt. These people feel guilty about being Americans, basically, and so this is their attempt to make up for it, basically. And it's a very sick, very sad mentality.
Let's listen to this clip about Kamala bragging about abusing her power as a prosecutor.
Oh, man.
The power I have as a prosecutor is that with a swipe of my pen, I can charge someone with a misdemeanor, the lowest level offense possible. And by virtue of that swipe of my pen, you will have to go to a courthouse and stand in line. You will have to come out of pocket and hire an attorney. You may get arrested for a few hours. You will be embarrassed in your community. You will miss time from coming onto the Google campus. All because with the swipe of my pen, I charge you with a crime, which I may choose to dismiss 2 weeks later. The power I have as a prosecutor.
Can you?
The way that she talks about it, they say with great power comes great responsibility. For her, it's just great benefit.
And this person wants to be president. So with the power of a pen, she can just start jailing people.
We know what this country will be run like under Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It'll be a combination of criminals doing whatever the hell they get to want and law-abiding citizens under immense amounts of persecution and lawfare. That's what we know, because when she was a prosecutor in California, when Tim Walz was governor, they already showed us what they were going to do. They already showed us what they were like. They're going to let cities burn while putting you in jail for nothing.
So they're the media is desperately trying to rebrand this ticket as a moderate ticket. Okay.
That's why we call them the Chankla. They're nothing but flip-flops.
You have to twist yourself beyond a pretzel in order to buy that nonsense. And the sad thing is that some Americans are not going to be the wiser because they're not paying attention. And this is where I think shows like this and people going door knocking and campaigning and helping candidates can make a difference, because then you can at least raise the question to the person. They may not be receptive, but if you plant a seed, you never know how it's going to grow.
Exactly.
Let's listen. Let's switch over to a different topic now. We all know, everybody with a brain knows that Kamala Harris was the border czar appointed by Joe Biden.
Yes, she was.
Right? Okay. She is now busy denying that she was ever a border czar, and the media is pushing that narrative. But let's listen to her from her own admissions here.
Both Republicans and Democrats said, look, if you're going to change the Trump policy, the previous policy, at least have a game plan. And there doesn't appear right now to be a game plan.
Well, okay, look, it's a huge problem. No. I'm not going to pretend it's not. It's a huge problem. And are we looking at overcrowding at the border, particularly these kids? Yes. We've been in office less than 100 days. We're addressing it. We're dealing with it, but it's going to take some time. And are we frustrated? Are you frustrated? Yes, we are.
This was back, just to clarify, that clip is back from 2021. Okay. This was back early in the administration when she was appointed as the borders are by Biden.
That's how she felt right after she got her appointment. Can you imagine how little she cared by about now time?
As President Biden said, just don't.
Yep. And then let's talk about let's listen to this one. So basically, on the border, the whole thing is on her because she was appointed. The borders are, and then Mayorkas is under her. So therefore, she is totally complicit in the situation at the border, but she's tried to run away with it. They asked her about had she been to the border?
Yep.
And how many times they asked her that? And then she goes, what was it? She said,
well, I haven't been to Europe either.
Yeah. It says, you haven't been to the borders. Well, I haven't been to Europe either.
I don't just suck at my job in one location. I suck at my job at numerous locations. And we know that Kamala Harris sucks at her job at numerous locations, especially in San Francisco. I'll stop when it stops being relevant.
And here's a clip from Kamala getting caught lying to Lester Holt from NBC.
Americans don't see a lot of that on a daily basis. What they do see at their own border, children being lowered over fences, children coming in with phone numbers stenciled on their hand. Yeah. And so the question has come up, and you heard it here, and then you'll hear it again, I'm sure. It's why not visit the border? Why not see what Americans are seeing in this crisis?
Well, we are going to the border. We have to deal with what's happening at the border. There's no question about that. That's not a debatable point. But we have to understand that there's a reason people are arriving at our border and ask, what is that reason? And then
the reason is you left it open.
The problem so we can fix it.
Just quickly put a button. Okay. Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
You haven't been.
Haven't been to Europe. I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, Americans don't see a lot of it.
He just straight up goes, well, you haven't been to the border.
We've been to the border. We're going to the border. You haven't been to the border. Well, I haven't been to Europe either.
Mom, I promised I was going to school. Like, it's just, this is the response that a childish person has. Kamala Harris, for a person who has never had children, she is a perpetual child. I'm very sorry about this. She does what she's told to do, and now that she's been given a modicum of power, she's running with it, as we say. And I wanted to say one thing as a young person. Immigration is the most important issue in an election when you have complete overcrowding, complete no ability to buy a house, all of your jobs being unavailable basically for your age group and generation. This is an immigration issue. We can't turn on the faucet and bring millions of people in every year when we purposefully have no infrastructure and no economy to support them. This is diluting everybody's standard of living. That's the goal. Allowing immigrants into our country is not upkeeping the tradition of immigration that we have. It's destroying the country that has the tradition in the first place. Let's be very clear about that.
So let's pivot over to how the media is trying to rebrand Kamala. Kamala. And they're trying to brand them as moderates or middle of the road.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Let's listen to Kamala in her own words.
And not Mr. Coy.
Well, I know that I read that at the Republican convention, he called me a radical. So I guess that's one difference between us. And yeah, I am radical. I do believe that we need to get radical about what we are doing and take it seriously.
Oh, boy.
So she admits it,
She's a radical. Yes.
Well, being a radical leftist today, what is the goal? To just make things worse for fun? Yes, please go right ahead.
Let's switch over to one of her policies or one of her goals.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, that we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities. Yeah. So thank you. There's no question.
Okay. There's no question she's banning fracking. And what is she saying today? Oh, no, I'm not against fracking.
La chancla, the flip-flop.
La chancla.
Oh, my God.
And now we're going, our audience is I hope, filled with young people, because I want this one to go viral. I want you people out there to redistribute this to every 18 to 24-year-old out
this
there.
boils my blood. I know exactly what one you're going to put. This boils my blood right here. Go for it.
Here we go. This is what Kamala thinks about America's youth.
What's the other thing we know about this population? And it's a specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories. And they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
Yeah, because, that's why drill sergeants are in charge of soldiers, because soldiers are stupid. Soldiers make bad decisions. This is one of the most insulting things that she's ever said. This insults a good chunk of our soldiers. This insults our college-educated youth. This insults people who are going to work, who are 18 to 24, to help their families financially, like I had to. This is something that I'm going to be sharing a lot. Kamala Harris has
this
no
needs to
right
be shared on every college campus in the country.
It absolutely does. This woman doesn't care about you. If you're a youth voter, she just does not care. She doesn't care about Democrats' youth who are primarily pro-Palestine. She doesn't care about them. She's insulted them when they've protested them. And I'm not saying that one way or another in the Democrat Party, I'm not telling them how to do their politics, but I'll tell you, if your candidate for president calls the youth of America stupid, that person probably doesn't have any right to be governing the youth of America. That is just one of the most offensive comments she could ever make. Yeah. And Obama said it too. A lot of people don't remember that Obama said something very similar. He said that Chinese kids are out there getting an education. They're not at home playing video games. It was, and he went on and on. The Democrats don't care if you're a young person. They just don't. I've been telling people this because young people don't understand the Republican Party a lot of time. The Republican Party wants you if you're a young person. The Democrats want you as a slave to their party politics. That's a fact.
And the way that they portray their policy, and I can't believe. I'm flabbergasted that she was bold enough to make that kind of a comment. And if that doesn't lose her the youth vote, then I don't know what will.
It's because people won't know about it, like Hunter Biden's laptop. That's why you're right. Republicans need to be in every social media space blasting out the worst thing. We didn't do this when Joe Biden said you have to have a slight Indian accent to walk into a 7-Eleven. We never blasted this. We should have put this on blast. People, put Kamala Harris's comments on blast. She deserves it. It was wrong to call us all stupid.
Yep. And speaking of stupid, let's see what they have to say about the economy, okay?
Oh no.
President Biden and I came into office with a plan to strengthen America's economy. It's a term we're very proud of, I must tell you, because Bidenomics is working. It's working.
It's working.
Whatever.
Don't you know, stupid people? Don't you know it's working?
Look, fat. These are people who openly insult the American people on a daily basis.
You people are stupid.
Oh man, I had no idea. Well, then you want stupid people to vote for you then, huh? You know what? If I'm so stupid, why don't I vote Trump? How about that? How about that, Democrats?
So, along with the economy, here's what she thinks about private insurance.
You support the Medicare for All bill, I think, initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also co-sponsored on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delays
that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this? Let's eliminate all of that.
Let's eliminate all of that.
Let's just have.
Let's just let the government decide what kind of care you get, whether you get the operation or not, whether you're fit to live, whether you're worth living. Let's just do that.
Put everyone on TRICARE. Ask soldiers how much they love their health insurance. I mean, I agree. The health insurance system in America needs serious reform as a health insurance system, not to just give it to the government and say, here, you do it, because it works so well in places that we're not set up for to be like. I mean, it's absurd. I've heard this, because you have to understand, Hugo, I've heard more about health care in my life since being a young person in politics, and it's because of Obama. You remember, that was the whole biggest thing. We're going to give everybody health care. You could be on your parents' plan until whatever age you want to be. I've been hearing about this my whole life. I have seen it benefit me and my friends exactly pretty much zero. So I don't really know what they're still offering at this point. They don't know how to do it, and they're not prepared to do it right.
And to add insult to injury, everybody's heard about the Green New Deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's hear Kamala talk about the Green New Deal.
Senator, on the Green New Deal, one, when it comes up after the holiday, do you plan on voting for Mitch McConnell's version bringing forward? And two, what does California's high-speed rail say to you about part of the Green New Deal? It's a massive build out of high-speed rail.
I'm not familiar with Mitch McConnell's Green New Deal.
Well, he's going to bring the Green New Deal up for a vote.
Yeah, I will vote for it. It is a resolution. I believe that the underlying principles behind it are sound and important. Climate change is truly an existential threat to our country.
Senator, on the
No, Kamala, you are an existential threat to our country.
Your boss is an existential threat to
That,
our
by the
country,
way,
right?
that clip was from 2019 when she was a senator. Okay? So she was all for the Green New Deal. And now, what is she doing? She's saying that she's not against fracking. So fracking is the mortal enemy of the Green New Deal. So which is it, Kamala? Which is it?
Which
Are
is
you
it?
for it? Against it? You don't know? You don't know what you're doing? You know what state you're in?
Yes, no, here's the great answer, Hugo, is that she's against it in the primaries, but now that she's going to be the nominee and she needs to win the national election, now she's like for it. See, that's the thing, is you govern as a crazy radical, but then you present yourself as a moderate. That's the Democrat playbook. It's been it for how many decades now? And she's just the baby poster child new for it at this point. She's kind of a cleaned up squad member, if you think about it. They got rid of all the vitriol and the cat lady hate, and now she's just kind of, a smoothed down squad member. You know what I mean? But she still has all of that in her head. She is not different politically.
Speaking of the squad, thank God 2 of them are gone.
Isn't that true?
They've been eliminated in the primary, so hopefully the next 2 will go soon. I know Ilhan just squeaked by in her primary, so
which is impressive, to be honest, that she was almost out in her neighborhood.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if maybe the Republican challenger can oust her, but I don't have much hope for her district, because her district is basically a Muslim Brotherhood district that has been created by the Muslim Brotherhood.
It's a colony, effectively.
She is basically a Muslim Brotherhood plant. Basic. That's exactly what she is.
We have people buying influence, and if anybody wants to know a good history about that, look up the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in the 1600s, late 1600s, early 1700s, late 1700s. That is what the country can be, being sold off piece by piece to foreign elements, so long as they have the money to get in. We cannot have that. That is not the country we want. That is not the country you want to live in.
Exactly. So let's switch over to a little more of her border policies.
Oh, man. Her lack of border policies.
When she lied about Border Patrol agents on horseback whipping immigrants or illegals trying to cross the border. I'm just giving you a little tidbit of who she is.
I've been very clear about the images that you and I both saw of those law enforcement officials on horses. I was outraged by It was horrible and deeply troubling. There's been now an investigation that is being conducted, which I fully support, and there needs to be consequence and accountability. Human beings should not be treated that way, and as we all know, it also evoked images of some of the worst moments of our history, where that kind of behavior has been used against the indigenous people of our country, has been used against African Americans during times of slavery. I've been.
Yeah, because our black population was illegally running into our borders to become slaves. Our Native Americans were just sort of peacefully scalping people. You know what I mean? Or Native Americans were just illegally crossing into their own country because they were on reservations at that time. They're Americans, effectively. No, this is an insult to our black community and Native American populations. Honestly, to compare those people with people breaking the law to get into our country.
I wish the reporter had asked her, well, what about your ancestors that were slave owners?
So that's what nobody wants to talk about that, right? Hugo, actually, there's a word for what Kamala is. Did you know that? There's a word for people of black and Indian descent from West India, from the West Indies. From the
Besides Kamala, what?
They're called Douglas. You can all look that up. It's not a slur. That's the word. There's even a very famous calypso artist called the Mighty Dougla, but she would never call herself that because in English it sounds a little funny. But
Did
that's
you say Douglas?
Dougla, Doulas, Dougla.
Oh, okay, not Google.
No, it's kind of like Douglas, but it sounds like it's actually a Hindu word.
A Googla.
A Dougla. And there's nothing offensive about it. As I said, there's a great artist, the Mighty Dougla. He was a great artist. I really love his song. His song's about, well, they can't split me up. If they want to throw me back to where I came from, they're going to have to split me in half and send me to one part to Africa and one part to India. And he was very proud of it. These are very proud people. And Kamala Harris doesn't want to claim that ancestry because you know what? I bet she doesn't even really know it that well. I bet you she doesn't even really know it that well. She was raised in one part and the other, said, you're part this, you're part that, and was completely taken away from her roots as a Caribbean islander who have great history. The Jamaican people are great. The Caribbean people are absolutely beautiful, wonderful people. And they make great Americans a lot of the time. But Kamala Harris doesn't care. She wants to be whatever she wants to be. She wants to be for fracking, against fracking, Indian, black, white, whatever you want. She's claimed to be, have Asian ancestry and all these things. She wants to fit with every group, but she doesn't want to actually help one group, Americans. That's what ticks me off.
And then there's the Second Amendment issue. So now let's listen to what Kamala used to say about banning assault weapons.
Do you believe in the mandatory buyback of quote-unquote assault weapons? And whether or not you do, how does that idea not go against fundamentally the Second Amendment?
Yeah, great question. I do believe that we need to do buybacks, and I'll tell you why. First of all, let's be clear about what assault weapons are. They
key phrase in there. Buyback equals confiscation. Keep that in mind.
Have been designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly. They are weapons of war with no place on the street.
Another buzzword, weapons of war. I don't know any military personnel that is carrying AR-15s in battle.
No, they probably wouldn't want to either.
No, that would not be the weapon of choice in
the civil society. I've seen assault weapons kill babies and police officers. So
she's seen it.
I've seen it. She's seen assault weapons kill babies and police officers.
I've seen war. I hate war.
She's seen it, but what did she do to stop it?
I'll tell you, when elected president, if the United States Congress continues to fail to have the courage to do something about this, I'm prepared to take executive action and put in.
Okay, so now she's going to bust the Constitution with the swipe of a pen.
She feels so good about having the power of, we know.
She's all about power. So she thinks that if she's president, she can eliminate the Second Amendment with the swipe of a pen. This is how mentally unfit she is to be president.
Place a ban on the importation
assault weapons into our country. But we still have to deal with the over 2
the so-called assault weapons are not imported. They're made right here in America. Thank you very much.
million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America. And so a buyback
in the streets of America, the black market rules. You come from Chicago, you know the story.
Yeah, guns being illegal doesn't mean you don't have them, people. It means you don't have them. They still do.
Do you think that the gangs over there in Chicago go to gun stores and go through background checks?
No, but I'm sure if we ask them nicely, they'll give their guns up. I mean, I'm sure,
Well, if they offer them a couple bucks,
Well, just get Hunter Biden to offer his.
Give them coupons to Taco Bell or something. I don't know.
No, you'll need Hunter Biden's secret stash. Get him to finally do something useful. You know what I mean?
program, it's a good idea.
Do you believe?
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea to violate the Constitution. This is the person running for president, folks.
Yeah.
Pay attention, because if they can go after one part of the Constitution, they can rip up the whole document.
Yep, these people want to be branded as moderate.
What is the solution for voters?
All right, so let's pivot over to her position on fossil fuels.
What is the solution for voters who have jobs and interests in fossil fuel industry?
Well, for the workers in that industry, we have to we have to encourage that those industries do better in terms of giving the workers an ability to transition into the jobs of the future, such as renewable energy.
Yeah. We're going to transition into non-viable sources of energy and basically leave people without jobs.
No, this is Obama rhetoric too. I'm sorry, like I'm getting such flashbacks to Barack Obama when I was growing up and just starting out in politics. She wants to be that sort of pretend middle of the run. Obama, same thing. He pretended to be moderate, but he was the most radical president that we've had so far. And in a lot of ways, Kamala Harris makes Obama look like a conservative. It's really ridiculous.
Yeah. This lady is, and I use the term lady in quotation, this lady is absolutely off a rocker.
Well, and I think one thing I want to say, it might be a little crass, but I really want to get this point out there. This is a woman who believes that power equals I don't have to sleep with anybody. This is a woman who got her power by using a sugar daddy. This is a fact of the matter. So when she's moving up the ladder, she's partly running away from her past because she knows that she might actually have to go back down there, no pun intended, if she fails. And even though, no one's going to, really want her to do that job anymore, it really messes you up psychologically, I'd imagine, when that's how you get your power. That's how you get everything you had. You never want to go back there. A prostitute never wants to go back to the streets once she gets out of it. So I don't mean to be so crass, and I'm not trying to insult Kamala Harris unless it's fairly done so.
What is the number one job of the government?
What is it, Hugo?
To protect the citizenry.
Absolutely.
Let's see how Kamala will protect the citizenry.
You must have the courage to object when they use that term. Radical Islamic terrorism. Whose glory from Muslims has overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror. Also have the courage to reject that term illegal alien. I have seen some of the worst of criminal behavior. I have seen the worst of crime. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Okay. According to Kamala, we should have the courage to not say radical Islamic terrorists when describing radical Islamic terrorists. And in addition, we should have the courage to not use the term illegal aliens when describing illegal aliens. So we should call them I don't know, guests. We should call them
Uninvited guests. Yes.
uninvited guests. No, they're invited.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The Biden regime invited them because he said, "Come one, come all, with the borders open." And then when they get here, we'll give you housing, we'll give you health care, we'll give you jobs, and we'll even give you citizenship ahead of American citizens so that you can vote for us.
I mean, it's a very demented use of supply and demand, honestly.
It's amazing.
Let's see here.
So here's another power grab by Kamala.
The second part of that question is, if you're not successful with the impeachment process, would you continue to pursue legal action against 45 and his cabinet as well when they leave office for the numerous egregious offenses that have all occurred against the American public, regardless of the time expended in the courts?
Absolutely. Listen, I believe that there needs to be transparency. There needs to be a
Transparency? That's what she calls it. Lawfare is transparency in her mind.
accountability. There is a clear
Accountability. Democrats can't spell the word.
track record of this president and members of his administration obstructing justice, not to mention
They're obstructing justice. Not the Democrats. The Democrats are never obstructing justice.
what we have seen from the current Attorney General of the United States, who I questioned in connection with the Judiciary Committee, who clearly thinks his job is to represent the president and his peculiar interests as opposed to representing the people of the country.
You mean like Merrick Garland and Joe Biden?
In which we live. So there is a lot of work to do, and I plan on seeing it through.
She plans on seeing it through.
I'm
She's
sure
going-
she does.
She
right
wants.
to the very end.
She wants to jail her enemies. She wants to go after anybody that would stand in the way of the progressive agenda that she and her communist buddies want for America. You did notice that the Democratic Socialists of America endorsed this ticket, right?
Yes, they did, and like I said, that's why someone like this is a woman who believes that power is a way for people to get out of the gutter. And even though she was born into privilege, she kind of recognizes herself as part of that gutter. So she thinks that just by getting herself in there, she's helping the little person. That's what she believes, Hugo, is that she literally believes that just her becoming president means that all the little people are going to rejoice. You know, we finally have our person in office, not realizing that she is a corrupted version of probably everything she wanted to be as a kid. It's very sad, but that's what happens when you sell your soul and your body, but whatever.
Yep. Well, this is what we're up against, folks. I'm appealing to the young people. Nick is in your age group. Some of you are young enough to be my grandkids.
And you'd be lucky to be.
But I can tell you this. You've heard it from her own mouth. She does not respect you as people. She does not respect you as citizens. Young citizens, but citizens nevertheless. At 18, you're old enough to vote. You're old enough to serve in the military.
Die for our country.
Die for our country. But you're stupid. Remember that. Okay?
Yeah.
That didn't come from me. That didn't come from Donald Trump. That came from Kamala Harris and her communist running mate, Tim Walz.
Tim Walz actually said something similar. I don't know if you knew that. He called the National Guardsmen a bunch of 19-year-old cooks. As if 19-year-old cooks couldn't, win medals of honor. And they have.
Oh,
We're not stupid. I would love to put that. A big billboard right there with a young person, and it just says, Kamala, we are not stupid. And we're not. We have one of the brightest young generations we've ever had in America. And let me tell you, we are throwing them away. And Kamala Harris will throw you away if you give her your vote. What did Donald Trump do with his VP pick? Did he pick a 60-year-old Minnesotan governor who let his city burn. No, he picked a 39-year-old senator with a disadvantageous past, who had a drug-addicted mom, who beat the odds, who is 39 years old. He sent a clear message to us. Guys, kids, young adults, now is your time. Kamala Harris wants her time, not it to be yours. She wants her time. Donald Trump wants it to be your time. That's the choice you need to make. You deserve it.
And I want to close with something that's going to make or should make every American sick. Okay. We all know what happened with the disastrous pullout in Afghanistan by Joe Biden, who happens to have said that it was a perfect operation and everything went great. So let's see on the third anniversary of that pullout what the Taliban is up to. Oh. Where is it there?
Oh, they're having a little party, it looks like.
They had a parade.
Yes, they did, of our captured military gear.
Yep.
And that's the legacy Kamala Harris carries, people. She doesn't just get to pretend Joe Biden did everything by himself.
Look
She
at that.
was there the whole
Tell me
time.
this doesn't make you sick.
That's our equipment. That's our blood.
This is all the equipment that Joe Biden left behind. Okay?
Again, that's our blood and steel, people. That is what we have. Our blood and steel being paraded by our enemies because Joe Biden couldn't get the job done right. You think his VP pick will get any job done right? There's our proof. Oh, it's sad.
It's just, it just boils. I can't even.
Well, Hugo, I will say one very quick thing. As I actually was very lucky to, I had shared living space with some Afghan translators. And you know what they told me about what they thought about the pullout? They said, for 12 years, we showed those old men in those mountains that we could run the country. And we made a better Afghanistan than they ever could. And one day, we will come back and we will take our country back. That's the mentality of the people that Joe Biden abandoned. They haven't given up hope. And so neither should we. We have a job to do when Trump comes into office. It's to right every wrong that Joe Biden did, not just to the people of America, but to the people of the entire world, to the people of Taiwan, of Ukraine, of Europe, of Africa, of Hispanic America. Joe Biden has ignored the world and America. So when people say, oh, his foreign policy was better, look what he didn't do anything. He's done the bare minimum, if anything, and Donald Trump would do much more. We know that.
Well, we hope you guys have enjoyed tonight's expose.
Yes.
We're going to have much more as the election draws near. We want to encourage everyone to share this stuff with your comrades, with your people that you hang out with, your friends, your family, your coworkers. But especially you 18 to 24-year-olds, I hope you are paying attention as to what this ticket actually thinks of you. The people in the Republican Party don't think that of you. We think that you have a bright future. We wish you the best. We want you to succeed in whatever endeavor you choose to pursue, your education, your career, whatever it is. We want you to succeed, and we value your opinion. And just because you're inexperienced and you're young doesn't mean that you don't have a voice. So just remember which party really values your voice. And this coming week, we have the circus known as the Democratic National Convention that's going to take place in Chicago. I want everyone to pay attention. Don't ignore it. Tune in, see what's going on, watch the newscasts from more than one source, I would recommend, and just watch what unfolds over the next week. We're going to be on top of it. We're going to try to pull out stories that are pertinent. Come next week when we're doing our show, we'll probably be tuning into the Democratic National Convention and exposing some of the more poignant aspects of the convention, and we'll see how unified they really are. We were at the RNC where we witnessed the most unified Republican Party I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
And we have a candidate that basically and literally is dodging bullets to try to be your president. So let's not ignore, what's taking place. Pay attention. Find your news wherever you might be comfortable finding it. There are many sources out there, but we encourage you to pay attention and very close attention to what they're going to try to feed the American public next week.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for our coverage of it. We're going to try to bring you some specials and some fun reactions and stuff like that. So be tuned for that. And
no, we're not going there in person.
No, yeah, they denied us our guest pass. Funny, interestingly enough, Hugo, I do know a lot of Democrat young people, and I don't know anybody who was allowed to go to the DNC this year. I think it's going to be a very choreographed event. So everybody, watch for the cracks.
I'm more interested on what's going to be going outside than inside. That's the part I'm looking
the behind the scenes stuff. And you guys can watch all of our behind the scenes stuff at the RNC by going through our old catalog of shorts and videos. Not really that long ago, we were just there, and we brought it all to you guys because that's what we love to do.
Yep. So that's all the time we have for tonight. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We hope that we provided some good information for you tonight. Watch and rewatch some of these clips and take that one clip that I mentioned and make that thing go viral.
Yes,
put it out there to everyone in that age group and let them know what they think of them. So thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Nick, great job as always.
Always great to see you, Hugo.
We'll be putting out some more information as we go along in the next few days, and hopefully our new platform will be able to launch next week, and we'll hopefully improve things as we go along. We're always looking to improve. So
always on the up and up.
Thank you. God bless you out there in America, and God bless the United States of America.
God bless the U.S. Take care, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in.